It is time for another episode of our catch up with our Irish AFLW players down under in Australia. And this time I'm delighted to be chatting to one of our newest Irish AFLW players, but somebody who's taking the game by storm. It's Vikki Wall. Hi, Vikki, how are you?
Hi, Mike. Everything's
Very good. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat to us. We won't keep you too long. I know you're back from a session there in Australia. So you've 9 games played already in your first season. It's crazy. It's flying by. Obviously you headed over straight after an All-Ireland final with Meath, a few days celebrations on the plane, and you're out there, missed most of pre-season. You had your practice match, I think, literally within a few days, and round one a week later. The AFL clubs are going to love me for this. Is this the secret? No pre-season, just head out and get straight into round one.
yeah, I reckon so. I reckon so. Yeah, we'll be having those conversations soon enough. But I know, look, it was great to be thrown into it, and obviously you're coming off the back of a season back home, so it's not like the fitness was like obviously we were in good kind of nick, so it wasn't too bad in that sense. And obviously the physicality was learning to get used to it, and I'd been doing calls and stuff with Croc, the manager, and stuff a few weeks before I headed over, just about their tactical setups and stuff like that. So I wasn't going over completely clueless, but no, it was good. I got here on the Saturday and then was training the Monday, so it was definitely a quick turnaround.
It's definitely in at the deep end, and I suppose obviously you've been doing a bit of work and in touch with the club and before you headed over. But in terms of then actually being thrown in to a game, like what's your own personal strategy in that scenario in a sport that you haven't really played before? How do you handle that, or what's your focus?
Well, the club were fairly good at it, and obviously the first week I'd only be there. The first practice game I'd only been there in a week, so they knew I wasn't going to have everything ticked off, and they just kind of prioritized a few things they wanted me to try and work on. And the main thing was getting into the structure that they wanted to be in, and then the forward coach said from there just kind of play around football and see how you get on. And obviously they could tweak things after that, but. I mean, when you have that kind of trust and guidance from the club, it's not too bad. If I follow the structures to some extent, they want you to be able to express yourself and kind of use the small bit of Irish flair that we obviously all have over here. So it's been good so far.
Absolutely brilliant. And look at, as you said, 9 games gone, 6 wins. Kangaroos are in the finals positions. They actually have a shot at the top four, which is the double chance in finals. But I suppose from a certain point in the season on, does every game effectively become a final anyway, as everyone's jostling for those positions?
Yeah, 100%. And that was definitely even the last few weeks we've been focused on that. You don't want to be going into the finals off a few losses coming up to them. You want to get momentum building and get the team together. So yeah, the next few weeks is all kind of the business end of it, I suppose.
And the most recent game was round 9 against Collingwood. Obviously, that was a brilliant win. For anyone watching, it would have seemed to be Kangaroos' best performance of the season to date. Everything seemed to come together. So it seems to be all coming right at the right time of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the weekend definitely was our best performance. Yes, like everyone kind of showed up in different pieces of the game. Everyone had their small moments, and when everyone on the team does, it makes it a lot easier. You're not relying on a few people, which I probably think in the stage that this competition is at, I think a few teams probably do still rely on their bigger players. But then when you can kind of have it a bit more even across the board, I think it obviously helps get that overall squad performance.
And in terms of as the season progresses round by round and you're getting closer to finals, does anything change in terms of how the team prepared during the week, the sessions, the focus?
Not really. Obviously, like the week of like obviously the games are back to back, so we're still in a. Some weeks will be deload, but then some weeks you're going to get your power session in on the Tuesday night before the game so if you have it on a Sunday, let's say. So it's all tapered and it's all done for you. But no, the prep will be the same, and like even our captain run the day before, just getting the touch of the ball and stuff like that. So nothing really would change with coming into the finals, just kind of keeping it consistent.
Now, we were chatting to Eric O'Shea there a couple of weeks ago, and obviously you guys are living together there very close to Arden Street. And you mentioned recently yourself as well, like in terms of the standards that the Kangaroos are no different to what you guys would have demanded of yourselves back home at Meath and stuff. But the main differences would obviously be in terms of the staff and the resources and the facilities. So maybe can you give us a bit of background as to what would be the main differences there in terms of the support and resources around the team from back at home?
Yeah, I think you just have more luxury. You're in the club a lot more. You're there for a lot more time. Like, so we had our game on Saturday, and then we had today and a Monday we'd have our recovery session. So you can be arriving at the club from really any time from 3 or 4 o'clock, and then meeting. You're doing your line reviews with your individual reviews, and then we'll do an overall team review, a lot of footage and kind of talking and things like that. And then you're into your recovery splits, so you're getting assessed by it's probably 5 or 6 physios instead of maybe one if you're lucky the session back home. And then you have, you know, your mobility and you have your skills and you just a touch and a flush out, and then you'd be into, you know, a full kind of catered dinner. So it's definitely a little bit different to the resources you'd have back home of even having the sauna, steam rooms, ice baths, hot baths, just at your kind of beck and call in the club that you can call in and use whenever you want. And, you know, you're not out of pocket for something as simple as a physio session. So I suppose that's kind of a big difference. And just even, you know, the likes of getting a scan sorted, you have the results back in 20 minutes and you're not out of pocket either. So it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, it's amazing to have all that support and resources around you in that professional environment. And I suppose that effectively is the main difference. One of the things that isn't different, I think we've seen about 10 pictures of you training in the rain at this stage. The weather has been a bit dodgy for the last couple of months, but I think it's improving there now. So that's a bit similar to home anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had more sessions training in the rain here than I have back at home, to be honest. I don't think it rains as consistently as it does over here. But no, the weather hasn't been great the last few weeks in Melbourne, but we've had a few sunny days, so it makes up for it.
Sure. Now, on the last episode, actually, I was chatting to Sarah Rowe, and she said that you were causing chaos in Melbourne. So I'm going to give you a chance to defend yourself now for a second.
Causing chaos. Sure, look, you have to cause a bit of chaos wherever you go. You know, you can't be boring. But I challenge that back now, and I'd say Sarah's right up there. She's been causing chaos for a bit longer than I have over here.
Exactly. She's been at it for a few seasons, and obviously, look, it's great. Yourself and Sarah and some of the girls have been spending a bit of time together, off the pitch and away from the clubs, and I'd say that's great as well. But obviously, in round 9, did you cross paths on the oval at all?
Myself and Sarah did, yeah. I think you can see it in one of the set shots I was taking. I had her in my ear, winding me up and sledging me. I had a little bit of a smile on my face. She got to me at one stage, but look, it's the same as back home. You know, you're used to playing in college with people, you're playing against them in club, you're playing against like with them on your county. It's fairly similar, but I mean, you're not gonna change how you play. You'll have a laugh before and after the game, but I think on the pitch, it's a different story.
Yeah, and look at obviously all of the Irish players we're talking to, and we know this anyway, are singing the praises of being able to just catch up with each other away from the
Yeah.
clubs and come together in Melbourne there. That's an important part of it as well.
100%. It just, you know, it's as much as the team are great over here, it's nice to have a bit at home and people that can relate to where you've come from and the sport you played beforehand and kind of the differences that are involved in playing this sport. And I think Amy Mackin is over this week now visiting Blaine, so we'll meet up with her for a coffee, and you know she could be converted yet to be coming over here playing a bit of this ball. But I know it's great, and everyone's lovely that's over here, so it's really nice to have that kind of smaller knit community as well. But there's enough Irish here, you'll find them anyway.
And I know it's just your first season, but it's definitely one thing that I've noticed from the last couple of seasons, especially with COVID and everything, where nobody was able to travel. It's absolutely brilliant this season to see parents going over, dad going over, brothers and sisters, everyone just popping over and being able to see what's happening in Melbourne. That's brilliant for the players as well. You mentioned earlier, I think in your diary in the Independent, about when you arrived there first, there was a much quieter Vikki than the Vikki that emerged after a few rounds and stuff, and that was just more in terms of getting comfortable with the game and being able to be confident to speak out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was going into a completely new environment, and I just wanted to first of all just observe people, and you know, I think in any team I've been involved with, people kind of fill into different type of roles and different types of leadership and stuff like that. So, kind of just wanted to suss everyone out, to be honest, and just be able to kind of see where I'd slot in and where I could be of value in some ways. And obviously I think everyone has a different leadership style, has a different kind of way they go about things, but you know, it's fairly easy within the first week of training with a group of girls to kind of catch on to the way things are. So it's been great so far, and everyone's great in the team, but I'm definitely a lot louder now.
Yeah, and I think it's a common theme amongst all the girls, to be honest. In fairness, even the likes of Stacky have said this before, that like even when you're coming from a position of being a natural leader at home, when it's a completely new game, you just have to take a bit of time to feel confident to be able to speak out about what's happening and stuff. So it's the same for everyone.
It's almost a case of, you know, like you can't be kind of giving people instruction or maybe helping them when if you're not fully sure of the rules yourself, or if you're not kind of confident in your structures or your environment. So I think when you get to that stage a little bit, I still have a long way to go, but when you're kind of more confident in that sense, it allows you to maybe be your true kind of natural self in a sporting world.
Now, we mentioned earlier on, obviously, it was brilliant. You were able to get the full season with Meath here at home and do the back-to-back and absolutely fantastic scenes. Across the last couple of weeks, the club championship has been happening, and for the first time in a long time, you've probably missed out on a final with Dunboyne at home. Obviously, the girls have done brilliant and won the county again. Was that probably one of the more difficult times so far since you've headed over?
Yeah, absolutely it was. But then, everyone's replaceable on a team, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from. So it was great that the girls can do it. And there's no doubt that there's enough people in that club to keep us going for a while. There's huge talent there. So I mean, I was sad to be missing out on it, of course, but it was unbelievable that they won, and I was able to FaceTime them straight away, and I was watching from home, being the world's toughest critic, so it was good. But I know I was delighted for them. It's another win for them. But yeah, definitely puts things into perspective of missing those small bits for your club.
Yeah, I know. I saw they were FaceTime. Yeah, I think you were the first Irish person in Melbourne to go to Coppers while in Melbourne, by the looks of it. So
I'm sure I wasn't the first.
Keeping you in the loop for sure. And again, now look at, you've mentioned you're enjoying the game. We can see it. You're absolutely flying it. 6 goals so far, naturally taking to the game. You mentioned there this week as well that you're not loving it yet. What's the next step there? Is that just being more comfortable with the game and understanding it? Because I know you're a bit of a perfectionist and you probably want to get to that stage.
No, I don't think it's a case of not loving it yet. I was kind of maybe a small bit out of context of like just comparing it to the love you have for the game back home. I think
Sure.
it's obviously a case of no matter what sport I'd play after Gaelic, if I'd even gone down a different path of a different sport, even if it was rugby or anything like that, I think it's obviously going to take a while to ever kind of compare it to the sport that you grew up playing for years. And when you become, it's almost a sense of comfort in that sport. So when you're thrown out of your comfort zone and you're kind of having to learn a thing again, obviously it's just that comparison of the love you have for it. But like it's a new challenge. It's enjoyable. And I think the more games you play, the more kind of scenarios you're put in, and you kind of get to absorb everything and play against other players and see what they do, and kind of take bits and pieces from everyone. I think we'll get there anyway.
And in terms of back home, obviously we're in touch with Caroline and Tom and the O'Sheas and watching all the games and stuff. And there's a huge buzz. I'm sure you're picking up on that support for yourselves and the Kangaroos from back in Ireland.
Absolutely, yeah. I get a nice tag from my mom on Twitter every day after the game, just saying the exact same thing. So that's always good. But I doubt she understands the rules just yet. But she's a big supporter no matter what. And even the girls back home, if the times align, they'll always send me a text and say they've watched it or anything like that. So look, it's good to just keep in touch. And TG are obviously doing a phenomenal job again in terms of any sport that any Irish person is involved with, of showing it. So that's great as well.
It's amazing. And look, just away from the football pitch then as well, as part of going over there, we organised some work with the club and stuff. And in terms of continuing personal development, how important is that? Are you enjoying that aspect as well of working in one of the commercial departments, I think at North, for a couple of days a week?
Yeah, so I'm in the digital marketing 2 days a week at the moment, and I'll probably do a bit more now in our off season. But yeah, it's I think it's really important, I think, to have something outside of it. I know, let's say even if the game over here goes fully professional, we were talking about it with a few of the girls in the team, and I think a lot of us feel you'd have to have something small outside of it, outside of football anyway, just to keep your brain kind of going and to have your own type of thing. But I mean, I'd say it's outside of football, but it's in the North Melbourne Football Club, so it's definitely predominantly about football. But it's great to have, and it's something else you can put on your CV, and you're not kind of at a standstill of not progressing in that sense.
And in terms of the game, is there anything that you're finding it hard to get used to that we don't do back here at home, even for the likes of singing the songs at the end or outside of the actual football itself? I'm sure you get used to it. You enjoy winning or singing the winning songs eventually.
Yeah, no, I'm fully acclimatized now to all the high fives during training and the enthusiasm and things like that. Acclimatized that, but still definitely a few lyrics of the songs I don't know, but I'm getting there. I know the chorus and I know the start of it, so I'm sure by the end of it, hopefully, if we reach a few finals, I'll have it learned off. But I know, look, there's rules differences, there's other things like that, but I think as a whole, it's a fairly similar culture to back home in the sense of, even though maybe people aren't from the exact same place, everyone has a common interest in the club and things like that. So
Well, Vikki, that's all fantastic, and it was brilliant to chat to you. We're not going to delay you any further. I know it's late there. Thanks so much for coming on and having taken the time to chat with us. Best of luck for the last couple of rounds and across the finals, and hopefully we will see North on a sustained run through the finals. And we look forward to maybe catching up to you again later in the season. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks a million, Mike.